Hey everyone, welcome to another video where me, Just Chag, reacts to a certain, YouTube videos about ships and cruising and whatnot. As you already know, I have about 10 years of experience on board, and this is why these videos are interesting to me from the perspective of living on board one of these vehicles for a long time, or rather many. Um, yeah, I got another one. I like always, I never watched these before I made a video, and I actually am expecting this to be a pretty good one. These guys are making like a traveler tips. They seem to be very experienced when it comes to cruising. Quite a lot of traction on YouTube and all that. Obviously, video link in description. Click on it, like it or dislike if you did, and yeah, maybe subscribe to their channel if you're interested in cruising. But this one just was very strange name for me. It says 10 reasons to stay on your cruise ship in port, and yeah, this is a strange topic in general. I probably would not cruise as term of like vacation, because I really like exploring the places where I can go to, and cruising gives you very limited time in the port. So sometimes, I don't know, from 5 to like 10 hours, or if have some different cruises where you can have like overnight, but that's it. It's not like when you go to vacation and spend a week in a place and get to know it and all that. So if I was to go on a cruise personally, it would be because I miss ships and I miss the ocean, because I live in Serbia, which is a landlocked country, and I don't even see these beauties anymore. So for me personally, I would probably spend a lot of time on board just exploring the ship and just enjoying the the whole shebang. However, the ports where you go, I think this one, what we can see, this is probably Geiranger Fjord in Norway, where this Costa is right now. These ports are amazing, and if you've never been there before, I would really be surprised if you don't want to get out. But I'm really curious to hear what they have to say about it.
What are the 10 good reasons for staying on board a cruise ship when it's in port? I'm Gary Bemidge. This is another of my tips for travelers. I'm on a cruise, but I'm staying on board when we're in port today. And that got me thinking, why don't I share with you 10 reasons that I think are great ones for staying on board and not exploring the port, starting with this one. It's important to remember that cruises are also vacation time. It's a time to relax. And if you're on a very port intensive cruise, you could end up coming back from your trip being pretty tired. If you're out exploring, you're coming back, you're going to eating, going to shows, drinking, dancing, staying up late. So actually taking a day out, one day when the ship is in port, and just relax. You can sleep in late, get up late. The ship's going to be much quieter, the elevators are going to be quieter, the ship's going to be quieter, and it's just a time to slow down and relax and make one of your holiday vacation days a total relaxation day. Because after all, you're coming on a cruise to have a great time, but also to relax and unwind. So I think that's a really, really good reason for staying on board. A second good reason.
Okay, I'm gonna pause here. First of all, I think I've seen some of his videos before, and he obviously cruises a lot. And when you are have thousands of days, or rather as it's counted for nights on board cruise ships, you've seen most of the ports as well. And also, this might be a little bit surprising, but not too many people though. A lot of older generation is cruising. So depending on the ship, right, where you're on. If you're on a Carnival cruise ship, you probably have a bunch of, or Norwegian, you have a bunch of younger folk running around. But if you're on a Celebrity or maybe Cunard, you'll see a lot of elders as well walking around, or majority of people being elders. And yeah, there's nothing wrong about just taking a day off. Although, I don't know. It's very interesting perspective. When he says it like that, I can't really counter it in any way. There is something really nice. Like, sometimes you have to stay on board in a really popular port where all the crew goes out as well. And if you're like on the port duty, the ships have this serene moment there where you can like walk around an empty ship that usually has like thousands of people on board and just get to know her better. And there's nothing wrong with that, actually. I can't really argue this. However, I would have that FOMO kind of like if I haven't been in the port before and the ship docks there and I don't go out to even at least for a little while to like feel the atmosphere, I would feel like I'm missing out on something, I guess. I think he goes into that port's not interesting. Some of the ports are really not, to be fair.
Reason is if, just frankly, the port is not of interest, either because you visited before, or you're just actually not interested in it, it doesn't look very appealing, or the weather's terrible, it's too windy, it's too rainy, it's too hot. Perhaps you've been to see all of the key sites and the secondary or tertiary sites that you can see just are not very interesting. Stay on board and enjoy the ship. Another really good reason for staying on board.
Okay, so with this, I want to say like there are ports that are really not meant to be explored. So especially we did a cruise around Australia, New Zealand, and well, it was Bali as well, and Tasmania. It was 31 days cruise altogether, and we had to stop and refuel, I think 2 times. And these ports are really, there's nothing. It's very hot and humid. You know, in between so many really good ports. But then on a cruise as long as that one, people actually kind of want to go out because you spend so much time on board. It's not like every day is a port day. You have a lot of sea days as well if a cruise is that long. So usually people want to get out and just feel the earth under their feet. So that's that's also a thing. But yeah, it's true. Especially if you're often cruising and you get to like these cheap deals with like Caribbean islands and whatnot. You've been there so many times, you know already. Yeah, I can see that. Not to mention some cruise companies do the no stops cruises, like only three sea days, because ships are fun. I mean, there's things to do on board.
Is if the port is just going to be crazy busy. So often I will take a look on sites like Cruise Timetable and take a look at how many ships are going to be in port. So you could go to some ports where there's going to be up to 15 to 20,000 passengers from all different ships getting off and just making the place completely crazy.
That's my old ship.
So actually it's much nicer to stay on board the ship in those ports where it's just going to be mad, busy, crazy.
Absolutely
so
true.
Plan in advance.
If you go to Nassau or Cozumel, Mexico, or ports like that, holy moly, it can be so many ships. Saint Martin or Saint Martin, I don't know. It can be really crazy. Holy crap.
If you look at your schedule and you're going to 5 or 6 ports, take a look at a site like Cruise Timetables, see how busy the different ports are, and perhaps pick one port which is going to be crazy busy, where you're going to just enjoy time on board the ship and not have to fight all the crowds on land. The fourth reason for me for staying on board depends a lot around the type of ship that I'm cruising on. So if it's a big resort ship which has huge amounts of facilities, ice skating rinks, climbing, go-karting, 4D simulations, escape rooms, all sorts of huge amounts of activities, I will often plan to spend 1 or 2 days on board the ship, because the ship is part of the vacation. If you're out exploring ports all day, you're going to struggle to experience all of those things that you basically paid for within your fare. So particularly if it's a resort ship, I always like to plan time on board rather than going to the port, because after all, I'm on a ship that is a resort in its own right. If I'm on a much smaller ship with much less facilities, and it may be much more then about the ports themselves and the destinations. If you're on a ship which has lots of facilities, staying on board at least one of the days is a really good idea.
Absolutely.
Another really good reason for staying on board is you'll find in port days, there are usually a huge amount of offers. So particularly the spa will have all sorts of discounts or 2-for-1s, all sorts of offers which make going to the spa much, much cheaper. You'll often find there might be happy hours, special cocktails of the day, or other activities which are at a reduced price. So actually it's a great way to do some of the things you want to do without paying full price. I love going to the spa, but it's really, really expensive. And going on port days is what I would normally do, because you'll find you get great prices. When you're on a cruise, you'll know that finding space and time
So this one is a little bit misleading with his B-roll videos, which are actually really good. This is probably the best B-roll that I've seen so far. Everything's so clean and high quality. I love how he makes his videos. Here's a problem. He starts with drinks being sold in the shops. Usually, or almost always, cruise ships are not allowed to sell anything when they're in the port. So you can't go to the store and buy, anything until the shop is like certain distance away from land. Although a lot of places are closed. For example, a Xeno is not allowed to work while the ship is in the port because it counts as a hotel and whatnot. There's like different kinds of laws being applied. So, however, the things that he talks about, that's true. Like stuff like you can certainly go in spa or pool or something like that. That's definitely an option. Have a cocktail for sure. Yeah, it's just the b-roll is a little bit off, but everything else makes sense.
The laundry can be quite a struggle. So if you go on a port day, you'll find that normally the laundries are quiet. You can get a machine, you can get a tumble dryer and do your laundry much, much easier. A great reason for staying on board is simply that it's quiet. The facilities are not going to be busy. And that's particularly important around the pool areas. So one of the big challenges on ships is often finding a great lounger near the pool, a great spot, or being able to use the hot tubs. You'll find on port days that you're going to find great lounges, you're going to be able to swim, you're going to be able to use the hot tubs and many of the other facilities around the ship. Restaurants are going to be much quieter and there's going to be no lines. Afternoon tea, if you want to go to that, is going to be much quieter. If you want to go and try things like flow riders or water slide rides, you're going to find you can do it multiple times without queuing up. So the ship is just much quieter. All those things that you want to do and try are going to just be completely either empty or free. Being able to choose that fantastic lounger in a great location and being able to actually use the pool and the hot tubs is a really big plus for staying on board. Another good reason for staying on
That's very fair, and usually I stay in many ports on board and just walk around the ship and whatnot. It's nice, just like I've said, I love the ship, so it's just walking around makes me feel good. But it is true that it happens to me that I go around the pool deck and there's like 3 people, reading the book, and I'm like, I almost get like surprised by someone being there because we are in a very popular port or whatnot. So yeah, he's correct about this for sure. He has a lot of experience, cruising, definitely.
On board is there's still going to be huge amounts to do. So even if there are not big facilities on board the ship, you'll still find the daily program has lots of activities, whether it's fitness class, trivia, craft classes, talks. There will always be a full program of events. Ships will always make sure that they've designed things for people to do who are staying on board. So they're still going to have lots of things to do. So even if you are on a smaller ship, there will be a full daily program of activities. So if you're yearning to win that trivia competition, the advantage of doing it on a port day is maybe less competition and you have a great chance of winning that trivia quiz. But definitely there's still going to be loads of things to do when you're on board. So don't think that if you stay on board, even if it's on a smaller ship, there's going to be nothing to do. There is going to be a full daily program of events.
Ships want you to stay on board, so they take you to various ports, but they want you to stay on board. And what he's saying is very true. I don't know, he probably knows what the reason behind this is, which doesn't really matter because he has his own reason why he would stay and enjoy the activities, like winning a trivia. And I've been around these trivias, especially elders, but sometimes younger folk has a lot of fun with it. You have your activities crew around asking questions, knowing the answers, and just laughing about it. And it's actually a good time, especially when it's not overcrowded. I know because as stage staff, we go and set up bands in these like lounges, and sometimes there will be trivia before there's gonna be like live music. So while I'm quietly setting up everything, I can hear him, people giggle and whatnot. It's really cool. Sometimes I even jump in and answer the question, and then they yell at me and what. Usually give them the wrong answer or something like that on purpose just to make a joke. But it's true. However, ships want you to stay on board because they don't want you to go out, because if you go out, you'll spend money, the money that you might spend on board. So there's a reason why activities are being done while the ship is in the port. The more people stay inside, the chances they're going to buy something in the store or somewhere else, or just enjoy drinks on board and whatnot.
One of the key reasons that I stay on board on port days is to get around the ship and take photographs and video of the ship when it's not crowded and full of people. So if you want to take great pictures of you, your friends and family, Port days is a great day to do that because everywhere is not going to be cluttered up and you're going to be able to take nice shots of the ship, you standing by staircases without people hassling you to get by. So I will stay on board at least 1 or 2 ports when I'm on a cruise so that I can take my photographs, I can do my videos of the ship without having loads of people in them. So definitely it's a great way of exploring, seeing the ship and getting those photographs that you want to take. And really important, of course, because having photographs taken by the cruise line can be quite expensive. So this is a great opportunity for you to get out there, take photographs, and you have time to experiment and take lots of photographs and perhaps save some money on those cruise photographs.
Buy from the photo department. Come on, what do you mean? I gotta get paid. It's true though, but this is really a strange reason though. I don't know, maybe because he's doing YouTube stuff all the time, and then for him it's very important to make some nice b-roll and whatnot. He seems like a super friendly person. I'm sure crew enjoys helping him out if he needs some kind of b-roll and whatnot. But I don't know if this is the reason to stay on board. You can also do this in the middle of the night if you want photos of the this is how I do it, because if you go to the photo gallery, sometimes you're gonna buy a photo of yourself, and the photographer will also offer a black folio with picture of the ship inside, and you can like choose 1 or 2 pictures that you want to have on the other side. And we do these pictures usually. It's us photographers around the ship. Yeah, what I will do if we need like a new set of photos for the photo gallery, I would just go around in the middle of the night. Sometimes it's tricky depending on the equipment we have or how rocky the ocean is. So the best way to do it for me is if we have an overnight, so the ship is in the port, so there's no motion, and in the middle of the night I would wake up at like 3 a.m. when there's no one around except for the people from the facilities, and I would go around and take pictures of the ships. And I encourage you to do that if you like, something like that, because there's no one around and you don't have to waste your port day on that. I mean, I don't know, here we disagree a little bit, although he is correct. I just think this is something that applies to him specifically because he needs a lot of video footage for his video, which is better.
Staying on board will also help with your budget. If you go out on excursions, they can cost quite a lot of money. So cruise line excursion, you're going to be paying $50, $100, $200 or more per person per excursion. So that can rack up a lot. Even if you go self-exploring, you still might have entry fees into museums, or you have food to buy, drinks to buy, entry fees, whatever that is. So actually it's one way of helping to manage your budget. So if you actually have a day on board the ship, you're not going to be spending money because obviously things are all included within your fare or your food and drink and entertainment. So it's a really good way of actually helping manage the budget. So perhaps if there are a couple of excursions that you really want to go on in some ports, you can perhaps splash out on those, knowing that you've got a day on board where you're actually going to sort of balance out your budget. So definitely it's one way of helping manage your cruise budget. There's a lot of good reasons for staying on board the ship when it's in port. Those are the ones that I think are really important. If you have any more, I'd love to hear them. But meantime, if you've enjoyed this video, why not watch another video of mine full of tips and advice right now?
Okay, so while I cannot disagree with him, his points are spot on. I will say one thing. I don't think this video is very useful for someone who goes to a cruise for the first time, or maybe 3rd or 5th time. This is probably the video that applies with tips are good, but I think they apply mostly to experienced cruisers. However, there's a little bit of issue there because experienced cruisers usually know how to plan their cruise, and they're not overwhelmed by the stuff that gets on board, or being confused about which port it is, and stuff like that. So regardless though, beautiful video, beautiful b-roll, the best one I've reacted to so far. There's no wrongs in it. I can't really say anything bad about it, so I really enjoyed watching this. I love seeing people who genuinely love cruise ships and cruising. There's just something refreshing in that. So I feel like I really love ships. Yeah, so there it is. Thank you for watching. Please click on the link in the description, and maybe subscribe to their channel, and like or dislike if you did. And yeah, I'll see you with the next one. Bye bye. Take care.